Over the past 25 years, Portsmouth has seen a notable growth in population. Since 2001, the city has been growing at an average annual growth rate of 0.81%. As of 2020, the population was confirmed at 248,748 people. This growth can be attributed to various factors, including economic opportunities attracting working-age individuals and families. However, within this time, the student population has experienced significant growth, primarily driven by the expansion and development of the University of Portsmouth. Founded in 1992, the university has grown to become a major institution in the city, attracting a diverse student body from both within the UK and internationally. Several factors have contributed to this growth, including the expansion of university facilities, increased course offerings, and the appeal of Portsmouth as a vibrant coastal city. The university has also invested in extensive marketing and recruitment efforts, particularly targeting international students, which has led to a more diverse student population. The influx of students has boosted the local economy, particularly in the housing market. However, it has brought its challenges, such as increased demand for accommodation, pressures on local infrastructure and services, and tensions amongst tenants, landlords, property managers, and councillors. At Portsmouth Property Connect, we investigate how the wider economic factors of the country affects the local property market. Today is the beginning of the academic year, and I've decided to speak to students and gather some information about their experiences living in private accommodation, more specifically HMOs.
Is it possible if I could get you to fill out a survey?
Subscribe now for more exclusive content.
So we're going to be speaking to students about their experiences in student accommodation. Obviously you've got HMO additional licensing, renters' rights coming in, whatever that's called now. So we've got all this stuff happening. It's just interesting to see what students kind of think of it. I did see something as well of tuition fees going up. That's part of the Labour's plan. So, you know, just out here speaking to people, and we'll see what responses we get. And they're getting sweets anyway, so hopefully they give us some sort of good feedback on the survey.
Today, George Roach of GS Homes is going to be joining me speaking to students. George has run a successful letting agent, which he built from a rent-to-rent business, and he mainly focuses on student accommodation. So it'll be good to get his knowledge and experiences behind letting these types of properties while we speak to students about living in these types of properties.
George, you want to tell the people a little bit more about what you do?
So my name's George from GS Homes. I am a letting agent. I work across Southampton, Portsmouth, Gosport, Fareham. About half our portfolio is HMOs, and the majority of those are student lets.
Cool stuff. I've been networking and meeting George probably 2 and a bit years now, and he's got quite a bit of knowledge and he's always happy to share. HMO additional licensing, obviously it's a big thing that's come to the city, and it's sort of changing the way people are operating their HMOs, especially in the student sort of realm of things. In terms of your experiences as a letting agent, how have HMO additional licensing affected you and how you're managing property at the moment?
We've only got a limited number of 4 beds. However, one had a bit of an issue. I think most landlords in Portsmouth had this issue where the living room was too small.
Yeah.
So they wanted us to put up additional walls, fire doors, move the living room around to keep it as a 4 bed.
Yeah.
Luckily, we didn't have to do all that. They saw reason.
Yeah.
But they were quite good to us. I know some landlords like to criticise Portsmouth Council. They were very reasonable with us. We didn't have to do too much, and both landlords got their 5-year licence.
Perfect. Another thing as well, with the Labour government coming in, and they've scrapped the Renters Reform Bill, and now they're back with the Renters Rights Bill.
Yeah, it's very confusing.
Obviously, we don't know what they're doing with it. I know there's a few things that they're scrapping, but I know Section 21 is still something that they're looking to get rid of. From what's come out so far, by any chance, has this impacted your business as a letting agent?
How long have you got? Pretty much as a rehashed version of the Renters Reform Bill. Nothing's really changed. Most landlords have known about this for 18 months.
Yeah.
What Labour have done is the amendments that they wanted to put in the draft stage, they've pretty much now put in.
Okay.
So they're not going to wait for the courts to be reformed. They released new guidance 3 days ago. I haven't read through the whole thing yet. It's 35 pages.
Yeah.
I think it should have been a bigger bill potentially. So we haven't had a massive housing bill since the Housing Act. That's 1988. I think what they maybe should have done is do a massive bill, so it's a one-stop shop for every bit of legislation, but they've sort of done a halfway measure. I think landlords are worried about it, letting agents not so much. About 75% of landlords are pessimistic about this new bill, about 50% of letting agents are as well. I'm probably in the more positive side.
Yeah.
We've spent so long not having regulation updates. I think the last major one was the Deregulation Act about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Any change is going to uproot landlords and cause chaos.
Of course.
But I think once it's in motion next year, I think everything's going to be fine. Obviously, they still need rental properties.
Yeah.
People will just get on with it.
How does it, has anything come through so far where it affects student accommodation?
Yeah, so they've announced about student properties. Originally, I don't think it was going to be in there, but they've now said that whole HMOs that are let to students now will not have to do a periodic tenancy. Whether that changes, I've heard that from a solicitor, so I haven't read the bill exactly, so I don't know whether that's true. But obviously what they don't cover is things like flats. International students might rent 2 people in a flat. They're not technically covered under the HMO regulations, so they wouldn't be in there. But I think we just have to wait and see what happens in the bill. I can't imagine too much will change. Obviously with a massive mandate and just a brand new government, I don't think they need to change anything. So I think the bill as we see it now will stay the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they might tweak it a little bit with say the NRLA or HMO Landlords kicking up a fuss saying, no, we need these protections.
As you can hear in this conversation that I'm having with George, it's becoming more and more challenging for landlords in this day and age. That's not to mention the mortgage rates. Check out this video to understand a little bit more about what landlords are going through with regards to mortgage rates going up over the past 2 years. Now that we have a clear understanding of what's going on with the landlord side of things, let's speak to some students and get a total understanding of the full situation and see what their experiences are in private shared accommodation.
What sort of property are you staying in at the moment?
A shared house.
Shared house.
Yeah.
And what have your experiences been so far?
They've been okay, but we've had mould and rats and everything like that, but...
Okay, I hate to say it, it's kind of standard
Yeah.
in a student property, especially in Portsmouth. How's your landlord been about it?
He's been really good. He's fixed everything like really quickly. Like he's been quite lovely compared to like other people's.
I was in a shared house. It was a 7-bed house. There were 5 of us in it.
Yep.
We all had some kind of issue with the company.
And it was a company, it wasn't necessarily the
It
landlord,
was like a management company.
It was a management company?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I never actually had like direct contact with the landlord.
Okay.
It was always through the company.
Yeah.
And basically when we moved in, one of my housemates had to pay rent for one of the rooms that no one was staying in, like a 4 months rent.
Wow.
For this one room.
Why did they pay it?
But we couldn't collect our keys if we didn't pay that. And she was the only one that could afford to do it at the time. So they basically be like, pay it or you can't move in.
Do you know much about your landlord in terms of how many other properties he might have, or is
He
this his
said
only
it's
one?
just us. He's only got our house.
Oh,
so
nice.
it's-
How many rooms?
3.
3?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all right. And are the room sizes, how are they?
They're all right. My one's downstairs, so it's a bit smaller.
Yeah.
But the upstairs ones are quite nice.
Doubles?
Double beds.
All double
yeah.
beds,
yeah.
all double rooms, yeah. And what's your thoughts on the kitchen size as well?
Kitchen size is all right. It's just very old.
Okay.
A bit tight. Like
Yeah.
not much movement.
Yeah, but still good for 3 people in the
Yeah,
house.
it's not too bad.
There was a number of maintenance issues that they just ignored. Like our bathroom got mouldy. They told us to sort it out, but it was the extractor fan that was the issue. My bedroom personally had a bay window and it was leaking. They literally fixed it with duct tape. There was 1 month where I couldn't afford rent because I was waiting for my student finance to come in.
Yeah.
And they directly told me to either take out a credit card or get an overdraft just to pay the rent.
Damn.
And I was like, I can't actually do that.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. So they basically was like, if you don't pay the rent by this date, we're kicking you out. And I was like, well, a good job I could pay the rent by that date then.
I take it you still signed contracts and everything?
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
everything
all
all
contracts,
okay,
deposit,
cool. Yeah. So all that was there,
everything,
but
yeah.
it was just a bit. Okay. Is this company local?
I think they do all around the UK actually.
They do all around the
Yeah.
UK? Okay. So it's not like a local company and they have their local. Okay. All right.
They're like HQ is in London, so
Okay. All right. That kind of makes sense.
yeah.
Appreciate your time.
Now, as mentioned before, I put together a survey to supplement this information further. Speaking to students, I was specifically looking for those who stayed in shared accommodation, not those provided by the university, but in private housing. And as we can see from this first slide, the types of properties students live in, majority of the people I was able to speak to lived in a room in a shared house. Next was an ensuite room, and the minorities were more in studio flats and other. Other also includes people who are living with their families in a property. Now, to understand whether students felt like they were getting value for money on the properties that they were renting, 1 in 3 University of Portsmouth students living outside of university accommodation pay over £600 a month for rent, including bills. A majority of these students reported that the price they pay for their room was of good value. With the Renters' Rights Bill looming and aiming to be completed in 2025, it's also important to understand the relationship between landlords and their tenants. In this respect, 45% of University of Portsmouth students rated the relationship with their landlord or property manager below satisfactory. This can come down to many reasons. However, maintenance and repair requests are a big part of that relationship between tenants and landlords. Just over 75% of students we spoke to seemed satisfied with the responsiveness of their landlords to maintenance and repair requests. However, just under a quarter were below satisfied and unhappy. And lastly, but no doubt the most important, 2 out of 3 University of Portsmouth students reported feeling safe in the shared home they were currently staying in. Although this looks a positive statistic, it is important to state that according to the survey alone, out of 65 students, 21 of them feel unsafe in their current accommodation outside of university halls. This basic research that I've carried out has garnered some interesting results which can be beneficial for property entrepreneurs and enthusiasts, landlords and students. The aim has been to understand the relationship between landlords and their student tenants amidst the 2023 HMO additional licensing authorised by Portsmouth City Council in the lead up to the Renters' Rights Bill. Let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comments. We're actively building a community and willing to engage with like-minded people who want the best for the societies in which we live.
Like, subscribe, share, do what you need to do. George is someone great if you need any kind of advice. So if you're going into lettings for the first time, whether you're a student or you're moving out of your parents' home, for example, and you just need a bit of advice on knowing exactly what to do, especially when contracts come along, or what was the thing we said earlier about?
The tenant fees. So I don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
They got rid of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I was a student, with the tenant fees, we would charge about 500 quid before we even signed the contract. We thought that was normal. It probably was at the time, but I mean, it's always good to check these things, isn't it? So we've just released a student knowledge hub, so you can go on and then get all the information you need about your rights, just so any unscrupulous landlords or letting agents won't take the mickey with students that don't know what they're doing.
Cool. We'll definitely put the link to that in the description below.